everyone for joining us today. So I'm Varada, I'm the CEO and co-founder of FilmDoo and FilmDoo Academy. So just a very quick background about us, and then I'll hand you over to Kate, who's obviously the star of our talk today, and of course to Julio, and who will be bringing everything into action. So a little bit about us. So FilmDoo, we actually started as a film streaming platform. We help people to discover really interesting films from around the world. So consequently, we now have one of the world's largest international film catalog. For example, films in French, Japanese, Spanish, African films, Asian films, etc. And our expansion into online learning, especially corporate training in the areas of diversity, inclusion, training, and multicultural learning happened about over a year ago. So we first noticed that actually over 80% of our audiences were actually coming to the website because they were interested in learning languages. So we ran a survey and 70% told us that the #1 reason they're watching a film on FilmDoo is they're actually trying to learn a language at the same time. So we looked into this space and saw that actually there's a lot about leveraging the power of film to really help with inspiring learning, creating empathy for people and places you haven't been, giving cultural context, social context, and actually helping with understanding of more complex themes and issues. So we went on to develop a technology that can now turn any film and any video into an interactive game and lesson in just a few minutes. And specifically in the area of diversity and inclusion training, as well as multicultural communication, this came about because a lot of people were interested in using our international film catalog, which can showcase different cultures, different business etiquette, and it really has helped the organizations we work with to show more complex themes and issues. And of course, we are now working with many experienced curriculum designers and experts in this field, most notably Kate Jackson. We're very happy to have her today, who will be actually telling a lot more about how this actually looks in practice. What is the role that film and video-based learning can really help with multicultural communications, with how to be a global leadership, and of course, the benefit of using film and video in really giving that context and really building confidence and really helping understanding with more complex cultural themes and issues. And on that note, I'll pass the baton over to Kate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Okay, so it's fantastic to know that I've got some great participants in this room as well. And some of them know me. So hello, but I'm Kate, and I've been predominantly a communications trainer and coach for multiple industries, from retail, financial services through to engineering, and I've been based out in Asia for 20 years, but for the past 18 months I've been working on some projects here in the UK and Europe. And I've been working with FilmDoo because we really understand what the power of video and film can really have a great impact on learning retention, people understanding key concepts. And I feel that it's a really interesting area where I can look to embed the use of film and imagery and video into the work that I do. So I work with industries and corporations to improve communication techniques, how to communicate as a leader, soft skills, including how to negotiate, sales techniques, or give effective feedback. We have also gone based on the success that FilmDoo has had in the areas of diversity, equality, and inclusion. We did launch a quick survey just to get an understanding of what training and what the training needs analysis of what people they want to learn. And this popped up as one of our findings, that people, whether they were here in Europe or they were out in Asia or in South America, they found it as an interesting topic that they wanted to focus on, is having that cultural agility and how to, improve relationships, build trust, and mitigate conflict when working with different cultures. So that's our focus of the session today. And I think it's going to be a really excellent session where we're going to get a lot of learning, actually, because John, who is joining us from Vietnam, is a specialist in this area as well. So I think this would be an excellent way for John to understand what FilmDoo are doing, the concepts that we're trying to run out, and hopefully maybe look at doing some collaboration in that area in the future. Yes, John says yes. I'm not sure if that's great. Okay, so let's just kind of run through an agenda. We're going to display 2 clips, 2 images. The first will be a video advertisement, and then the second one will be a clip from the film The Terminal. When we show those clips to you, there will be some opportunity for some gamification, some Q&A with that. So if you do have a mobile device near you, grab it, because it will be useful for you to use that on multiple screens. Julio will display all the information that's on screen, and we'll walk you through those. So for each of the video clips that we will show, there will be an opportunity for you to watch the film, engage with the activities, and then we'll have a little bit of a debrief. But overall, this is just a taster to show you about how we can really harness and leverage the use of film and video in these kind of soft skills, leadership and management training. So we're here to raise awareness. Some of the conversations and questions might push you out of your comfort zone, because we're going to be talking about cultural sensitivities, but we do welcome open and honest conversation. We will be monitoring the chat and any Q&As, and hopefully towards the end, we'll have a little bit of an open room for like informal discussion on the topics. So, you know, kind of focus on the session, close down your emails if you want, but we do want you to kind of really share your thoughts and feelings with us at some point. Tell us how you think the flow of it will go, and then we'll save some room at the end for a little bit of Q&A. So what do we know about organizations and the need for employees and leaders to improve and develop their cultural sensibilities, or the way that they communicate across cultures, and engage, lead and build relationships with colleagues or peers that work in other countries, in other regions? We are seeing that there's a continuing trend for organizations to have a wider reach. There are multiple companies that I'm working with at the moment, fintech companies who have offices in 13 countries around the world. We're seeing a demand that, especially in maybe the more technical industries as well, that they're employing people based on their subject matter expertise. However, based on the growth of those organizations at such speed, those technical experts are then promoted to lead teams, and those leading teams are not only remote nowadays as well, but also can include a very diverse range of employees within those members. So this is what kind of brought us to where we are today. So Julio, shall we get started with the first clip?
Absolutely. You should let me know if you're seeing my screen. I am sharing right now. Okay, so as Kate mentioned, this is better playing with 2 devices, but you're more than welcome to play with the one that you're seeing this on. I'm gonna, please let me know if you still see my screen. I'm gonna share on the chat. There is 2 ways of joining. I'll do the more complex one right now, which is towards, you put www.fdo.oo, and then it will ask you for a room name. And then the room name as it's displayed is Kiwi. It will ask you for a nickname. Feel free to use whatever you feel comfortable with.
Sorry, Julio, have you shared the screen? Because we haven't seen the...
Yes, normally I'm sharing my screen right now. No, you're not seeing?
It's better that I share, because...
Go for it.
Yeah.
Then ignore the room name chat, because we'll create a new one in a second. Do you have it?
Can you share me the link again, please?
Yes. There you go.
Okay. Okay.
And it's the very first game.
Yeah, sure. So we'll be playing this game, which is showing between English and different cultures. And as Julio mentioned previously, in order to join and the best experience for online lessons or in-person experience, classroom, for example, would be to watch the film or video clip on one screen and to answer questions on a phone or a tablet or a second device, just because of it's easier for the interaction, but it can be played on one single device. So in order to play the game, everyone who's would like to join us in the game, please open your browser and type in www.fdo.oo. This is of course similar to Kahoot, perhaps, if you have used that in other training programs. It will then ask you for a room name. Every room name has, every game has a different room name. So in this case, it's Dragon.
Please let us know through the chat if you're having any trouble accessing it. Sometimes. Okay, let's leave it a couple of more. You're in, John. We don't see you though. Do you see John on the screen?
I do, JC, right? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. That's me.
Oh, is that? I'm refreshing the page.
If you refresh, you're gonna have to need a new room name. I know.
Oh no, it's the same.
No. Let's go ahead. You'll see some questions popping up on the screen. If you are not able to join, feel free to answer the question through the chat. It is, as Kate mentioned, it's about the debrief and the conversation we're gonna have afterwards. This is just a little taster.
The best way to join the game is to go to a browser on your mobile phone, type www.fdo.oo. It will then ask you for a room name. Please put in the room name, which is Dragon, and put in a nickname. So in this case, I put in the name, and for example, Alan just put in the name.
Miguel is in too. It's odd that we don't see them on screen, but okay. I think we're good to go. But
yeah, sure. Okay. All right. Let's. The questions will be on the screen. Sorry, the video will be on the screen, and the questions will appear on your.
好容易嘅啫，好簡單啊，就咁拍頭。大家飲杯，飲杯，飲杯，得啦！大家食啊！好嘢啊！好食啊！湯又。
you should see the questions on your second device as well.
The English believe it's a slur on your host's food if you don't clear your plate. Whereas the Chinese feel you're questioning their generosity if you do.
True or false, a good global leader must know the culture of each team member. And this is, of course, the icebreaker game, normally played just to start a session, so they're a little bit shorter and easier.
At HSBC, we never underestimate the importance of local knowledge.
That's up the game.
I'll select this from another. I know a few people had a couple of issues logging in. We have a second game, so don't worry, we'll try to make it work the second time around. Up to
Okay, Julio, thank you. And thank you, everyone. I'd just like to reiterate, this is just a taster session where we're just showing you the overview of the concepts and the impact of the use of these videos and the questions can have to develop and improve your training provisions, how we can engage learners, and also how we can use it as a session to encourage and start discussion and debate on such subject matters here. So for me, in my expertise in my area, where I come in to deliver training, and we're looking at developing the skills of new managers and leaders, we can use these videos to start and raising awareness within these individuals and employees. So I would pitch and introduce these kind of questions to you. You know, how does this video make you feel? Do you feel empathy for the British gentleman who is in that scene? When you're working in your lives and you're going around your day-to-day business and you're working with your colleagues and your peers, if you are working in a multicultural environment, do you ever feel uncomfortable? Where does that feeling of discomfort come from? Is it from your own behaviors? Are you self-aware that you may be doing something wrong? Are you feeling a little bit lost or unsure? Or is it from the feelings of others? And with those feelings of discomfort that maybe you have experienced, or you know you're currently experiencing in your current roles, that's actually a great place to start, because it's raising awareness. You're raising self-awareness in yourself. So as you're developing yourself on your career journey and your leadership career journey, having that self-awareness is a great place to start from. Sounds counterproductive, but it's true. So take those feelings of discomfort, feeling lost and feeling unsure, and think of yourself, okay, what small actions, what steps, what behaviors, what are those things that I could put in place to improve my feelings of comfort? Maybe I could ask questions, maybe I could reach out to the people that I work with, I could explain my feelings and ask questions if you're feeling unsure. But what I'd also like for new managers and leaders to consider is, if you're familiar with that feeling of discomfort and feeling uncomfortable, out of your comfort zone, when you feel a little bit lost and uncomfortable, if you know what that feeling is like, why would you like anyone else to experience that and to feel like that as well? So based on these kind of situations where you're in unfamiliar territory, and you know that you're working with individuals that come from different backgrounds, that have different experiences, that have different approaches and ways of working, what is it that you can do in your day-to-day practice? What small changes or actions that you have that can ease those comfort levels, that can make individuals feel more inclusive and engaged within your team? So I feel that acknowledging those feelings of discomfort and being unsure of things is a great place to start. Now, I'll quickly move on because I'm cautious of time, but in that HSBC advert that we showed you, it kind of gave you a very traditional, stereotypical overview of the key differences between stereotypical British and Chinese culture. And yes, we acknowledge that this is just an advert, and most of us are familiar that there are food differences and language differences. But actually, multicultural ways of working is a bit like an onion. There are many, many multifaceted layers beyond just the differences between culture, food, and dress. So the questions that were prompted to you to describe the differences between Chinese and English culture. Yes, most of us are aware that one is more of a hierarchical culture where those premises will play out on a day-to-day basis. And yes, there are different food customs and etiquette. So all of the above is true. But let's now move beyond this. Let's improve our self-awareness and maybe start to look at the small nuances that will play out in day-to-day lives that will help you to become more of an open, inclusive, multicultural leader. So many people make the false belief and this false assumption in their careers that it is the organization's culture, the values, the mission that should actually be the main driver on how you choose to lead and empower people. But it's really important that as a leader and a people manager, you are now aware of the differences and be aware of those cultures that you are working with. It is really important for you to take the time to develop some relationships with those individuals of your team and learn a little bit more about them. Yes, there may be food, language, and cultural differences, but also maybe take that time to understand a little bit more about their ways of thinking, their ways of working, and even looking at how they communicate. And that's going to be addressed in our next taster video.
But are you mind sharing?
Yes, please, just bear with me. I'll share again. As per before, you would open up your browser on your phone and you would go to www.fdo.oo on your mobile browser or tablet. Then it would ask you for a room name, which in this case is Otter, O-T-T-E-R. Every game has its own name. And then it will ask for your name. And then you'll be able to join. So have some people joining.
We have Angela joining, and
we've got Alan as well. And you can see, you can change you can add little funny avatars on the. We've got Lisa joining. Okay, we've got a few more people in this game. That's great. Yeah, this is a great game. This one. Well done to Kate and Julia. Hopefully you'll enjoy this.
John and Miguel, let me know if you're seeing this screen and if you see your name next to ours, because we should have everybody in. Let's give it a few more seconds.
Are you able to join, John and Miguel?
If you're having any troubles accessing it, please feel free to say it on the chat. Verada, maybe you copy the URL as well, just for them to have No?
Oh no, John's
John is here.
Perfect, perfect.
We would be missing Miguel. Let me, because I know they tried last game, so I really want them to try once. Can't enter. Okay.
No? All right. Okay. Well, we'll start the game anyways. And Miguel, we can send the link after because the game can be played
individually. Yes. Apologies for this, Miguel.
Sure. All right. Thank you. We'll start this game now. Pay attention. Also, the faster you answer, the more points you get. So it's really fun because the trainees can really have that little competitive edge and see who's the winner at the end of it.
I have some very, very good news for you.
What?
I think that I figured out a way to get you out of this airport.
Oh.
Well, we have laws here that protect aliens who have a credible fear of returning to their own country. If we can establish this fear with you, then the CBP will be forced to begin expedited removal procedures, bring you to an immigration judge, and let you plead your case for asylum.
Multiple choice. Get ready. First question. What mistakes were made in this conversation which could set up for failure?
This is a clip from a Steven Spielberg film called The Terminal. For anybody that is not familiar, it deals with Eastern European immigrant that is stuck in a New York airport and is having difficulties accessing the country or returning back. Just for a little bit background.
Asylum?
Mm-hmm. Asylum. Unfortunately, the courts are so backed up with asylum cases that the soonest you get before a judge would probably be 6 months from now.
Yes, and we would have no choice but to let you go for those 6 months. It's the law. You'd be released.
Right. You would be free to wait in New York until your court date. But believe it or not, most people They never show up before the judge.
So I go New York City?
Uh-huh. You can go to New York City tonight. But you only get to go if we can establish a credible fear.
Fear?
Mm-hmm. Fear.
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 From what?
Well, that's the best part. It doesn't really matter what you're afraid of. It's all the same to Uncle Sam, okay? So I'm going to ask you one question, Victor, and it's a simple question. And if you give me the correct answer, I can get you out of this airport tonight.
So I answer one question. Go to New York City tonight.
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 Tonight. No. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Very familiar film. At this point, do you believe the two men have reached an agreement? We have Alan and Lisa.
Do you, at this time, have any fear of returning to your own country?
No.
This one is funny. So
These kind of examples are very common in real life as well, right? Not just in film. That's why they really resonate.
very relatable.
Oh, Lisa's overtaken.
Okay. Let me try it again. Your country's at war, Victor.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
a lot.
There are men in the streets with guns. Political persecution.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. And God only knows what could happen, right? Innocent people are torn from their beds and thrown into jail. Right?
On Tuesday.
Yeah,
I had Tuesday.
Yes, it's hard. So you're afraid?
From what?
Krakosia.
This is talking about the interrogator, raising his voice, accelerating his speech, getting near him a ways off.
You might have noticed this, but even if you answer wrong, you have a second chance of answering, and the score of the game will adapt accordingly. If you got it right on the first, you get a bit of a higher score. If you get it right the second time, you still get a score.
You're afraid of Krakosia.
Krakosia? No, no, I'm not afraid from Krakosia. I'm a little afraid of this room.
Okay. I'm talking about bombs. I'm talking about human dignity. I'm talking about human rights. Victor, please don't be afraid to tell me that you're afraid of Krakosia.
Last question, guys.
What is the key dilemma showcased in this scene? Oh, was Miguel able to join? And we have an MA now.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Miguel ended up joining.
Amazing, yeah.
Nice to have you, Miguel.
And the winner is Lisa. Wow, well done, Lisa. Followed by Angela, well done.
He's home. I'm not afraid from my home.
And that's the end of the game.
Thank you, thank you. Well done, Lisa. Well done, Lisa. What surprise we were out. Do we have? I'm joking. Okay, so thank you, everyone. All right, and I'm glad that the technology worked this time. So the terminal is a clip that we used, and just like Wirida pointed out, this situation where there is misalignment and disagreement in that conversation is a really common experience. I'd like you to think about your own working lives and your own real life experience. Have you ever experienced a situation like this? Have you ever said yes when you mean no? Have you ever got yourself in the conversation where you think things are going well and something pivots and it changes and the outcome changes? So daily life, real life experience, the beauty of using film and clips in such training is that we can relate to what's going on. We can have empathy, and we are familiar. We can really connect to that scene. So throughout that clip of the terminal, at what point did the misalignment escalate? You know, at what point did things start to to separate before getting to a common agreement? At around 2 minutes, both parties, both Tom Hanks and the other actor, they're in agreement, they're nodding, they're saying yes, kind of going, okay, all right. So they feel that they're coming to a common connection with a shared goal, a shared outcome, an agreement, but then things changed. Why? What happened? What went wrong? Where does this misalignment come from? Again, just using such questions, such media to kind of raise self-awareness. What changes in behavior, what skills, what actions, what steps can you put in place yourself to avoid this situation happening to you in future? Maybe you could write down in chat maybe some ideas about what you think, what went wrong or what could have been done to improve the situation. I'd like to hear from you, John, especially. You've got more experience in this. Yeah, so what went wrong? How did the situation escalate to where it got to in the end? How could we have resolved that conversation? What would you do next time if this was you in this situation? Maybe write down some steps. A language barrier, okay, interesting. Okay, thanks, John. So a language barrier, so yeah, consider using plain English, reducing jargon, speaking slowly and clearly. Okay, John, I like that as well. The official naturally expected that they would be afraid to go back. Okay, so again, misunderstanding of people's priorities and goals, misalignment of actually what is success to each individual is a really key point there. Miguel, placing oneself above another due to position, culture, and over. Yes, power, I think, is also really plays a big part in this scene and conversation. Okay. Okay. Oh, bullet pointed speech, breaking it down, John. That's a really good point. Thank you. Thank you. Towards the end of the scene, when the customs officer, the gentleman, is trying to influence and persuade the Tom Hanks character to follow his idea, he changes his tone of voice, his body language. And for many North Americans and Europeans, this maybe could be seen as just demonstrating executive presence as he tries to persuade. However, in some cultures, it can be seen as more intimidating and threatening behavior. So I'd now like you to consider your behavior in the workplace. What are some of the cultural behaviors that you demonstrate Are there any changes or modifications that you need to be able to make to engage and improve relationships and build trust with the people that you work with? So it's beyond food, language, dress. Culture can filter down into lots of different small nuances in the way that we communicate, our body language, our tone of voice, our speed of voice. And having that self-awareness and able to make those small changes to your day-to-day life can have a great impact in the way that you build those relationships, connect, build trust with the people that you work with. And once you have built that rapport, built those relationships, you are then be able to connect and then lead. Okay, Alan's put something in the chat there. Meet and greet across cultures, it's so important. And I think, Alan, it's a great point that actually it's important, and it always has been important, but I think it's going to be increasingly so as we work more in hybrid, remote environments. We have organizations are having greater reach with pop-up offices and, you know, having offices in around the world. We are going to be seeing increasingly having a diverse multicultural workforce. So I think it's a key skill for any team leader, supervisor, or CEO to be able to have this. And I don't think it as cultural agility. I think it should be cultural fluency to some degrees. Okay. So on the back of this, I just have a few questions about encouraging self-reflection in yourself so that you can take some practical steps and applications away from today's sessions that will improve your cross-cultural agility and mitigate any kind of conflict or disagreement that you may have with your peers or colleagues that you work with. So I'm just going to go through a range of questions that I'd like you to consider. Maybe you could take a pen, write some notes, write your thoughts, or I might even ask you to just add into the chat some points. But I'd like you to consider, how were you taught to interact with your parents, your teachers, your managers? Did you call your managers or teachers by first name terms or something more formal like Mr. or Mrs.? At work, at university, were you able to speak freely? Or did you have rules for communicating? I'm just going to scroll down 1 second, take a few tech issues. What happened when you started your career? What happened when you started work? Were you on first name terms with your manager? Do you feel comfortable disagreeing with your managers? And in your workplace, you might have seen that other colleagues have a different way of interacting with your managers. So please share. Please let me know your thoughts. What have you seen? What have you observed in your workplaces? What are those differences that you observe in the way that people interact with each other or communicate freely? Or maybe they are a little bit withheld. Tell me about your experience. For example, you know, are you on first name terms with your managers and your peers? Do you feel comfortable to speak freely, ask questions, tell people when you don't understand? Okay.
I have a few replies already.
Okay, thank you, Miguel. Denominations and pronouns, yes, very visible and observable in Southeast Asia and Asia. Yeah. Okay, so Miguel, based on that, What changes have you had to make in your day-to-day life? What changes have you had to adapt to in order to develop your career and in order to, you know, continue with your own personal and professional development? Because it works both ways, right? We're working increasingly with other cultures coming in and absorbing into the European offices and ways of working. And as we see, there's a pattern for people in the UK and Europe and the US to move out to Asia. So we are blending and assimilating, but career success comes in your ability to flex and in your approach. A good leader is able to flex and move themselves to meet the needs of the situation, to adapt themselves to the needs of the person that they're working with. So I'd like you to even share in the chat, please, so we can all see from each other. How have you adapted in your career? In which ways have you made some small changes that can have a big impact and influence on the way that you build relationships, the way that you move and progress up the career ladder? Okay, we establish a whole same level for all. I really like that, Miguel. Yeah. Okay, and Weirda, you pointed out addressing leaders is a common one. You might feel uncomfortable in the beginning of your career journey. You might feel uncomfortable when you start to have these experiences. But making sure that that feeling of uncomfort is a great sign. That sign of discomfort shows that you have greater self-awareness and that you're now able to stop and think, okay, what can I do here? What can I ask? Can I ask, what questions can I ask? Can I pause? Can I ask for help? Shocking for some of our Vietnamese coaches, yes. Oh, John, you're very honest there as well. You're overconfident. Interesting. Thank you. Okay, so we're coming up to the close of time. We do have poll questions for you. And remember, this was just a kind of a really taster overview of how we can include videos and the power of film to really kind of create and influence our key learning messages. Julio's popped that on screen. You want to give?
Yeah, so you should have it in front of you. As it says, one is choose all the apply, feel free to make suggestions and as many as you want. And then for some of them, we just want your feedback on today's session and what could be improved. Thank you very much for joining, and we'll leave it up for a couple of minutes.
Also, I want to add for the second question, what are the personal career development areas that could be useful for film and video-based learning? If there are other subjects or other areas not mentioned here, because these were just some of the team's internal ideas, please do include them in chat, because we may not have thought of this and you may have experience, more experience and insight. So yes, please do share with us other areas or topics that could be great to use film and video as well to give more context and interaction as well.
To answer your question, Alan, yes, it can be used in multiple locations. We actually are quite used to playing it remotely. No problem at all. We work worldwide, and it works just with an internet connection. You don't even need an account.
I think in the future of hybrid working as well, you can equally do this in a face-to-face environment, as well as bringing in remote joiners. Again, you can also use it as a technical rich media application in any kind of face-to-face environment too. Okay, so thank you everyone. Really interesting to hear your feedback and your thoughts on this. So thank you for sharing, everyone. Thank you very much.
So on that note, I'd love to just tell you a little bit more. And we're always looking for more organizations to partner with, more companies who are interested in trialing film and video-based learning. So this is a little bit about us to show how we're currently working with some really big US banks, Asian organizations, starting off with diverse inclusion training. But as you can see, we've expanded to multicultural training, leadership, other soft skills areas, for example. So we ourselves, FilmDoo, have our own film content that we can supply to organizations. And of course, we have our own edtech platform that can be used to turn any film and video into an interactive lesson. So you as training providers or organizations or HR leader, you actually have the ability to create your own interactive games and lessons on YouTube videos, Vimeo videos, as well as FilmDoo's film. So you have the tool to create your own lessons. But actually, as you would have seen, we are also now working with a corporate training specialist, for example, Kate. We have many more other curriculum specialists we're looking to collaborate with. And for organizations who are interested, we can actually now help create new bespoke curriculum, especially for those organizations, depending on their interest areas, depending on the requirements. We will go out to source films and videos specific for the topic, and we will create these questions for the organizations, whatever volume they have, whatever volume per month that they would like to refresh. And of course, these can be edited and easily tailored by the organizations themselves. So definitely, please do get us in touch. Get in touch with myself, Julio from the FilmDoo team, and of course we can we will pass any interesting messages to Kate. We are looking for organizations to partner with. We are looking for organizations who could see other potential areas of collaboration, partnership. If you are an organization yourself working in HR learning development and you'd love to try film and video-based learning in some of the soft skill training area, definitely drop us an email, and we'd love to continue the discussion later and give a more personalized training session and demo. So again, I'd leave this slide on for a few minutes. Contact myself at wps@filmdoo.com and Julio from FilmDoo at julio@filmdoo.com.
All right, thank you everyone. Happy Wednesday. Go forth and do great things.